What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to part two of podcast 128, 11 Rules for Surviving the Never-Ending Economic Lockdown. Now, before I get started, I want to thank all of you that have subscribed to my YouTube channel and all of you that have become SK Wealth Academy patrons, because it is quite obvious that there are a good core of you that are really, really solid people that I would welcome into my foxhole any day to fight this battle. And if you wonder why I use a lot of military terms, it's not because I'm pro-war, I'm very anti-war, but it's because I trained in martial arts with almost exclusively military personnel. So a lot of Army Rangers, infantry, guys that trained spec ops in martial arts, and so on. So I just got used to hearing their terminology. And indeed, we are in a spiritual battle right now. And this is a battle of morality, because if you look at what's going on, where freedoms are being stripped completely from people like in Melbourne, in Australia, and in various countries across the Asian continent, in various cities in the United States. Really, I believe what I said in my podcast 126, was it? About the, or no, 123, because I uploaded things out of order for a bit. It was either 123 or 121. Sorry, you just have to check. But it was my podcast about the war that normally comes during dire economic times, because as you know, the parasitic ruling class always takes us to war, and the war they've taken us to is civil war. So there's civil war going on in every nation, and that's the war of the state against our freedoms. So we do need to bond and form this global community. It's really important. I'm not really sure, after I launched my SK Wealth Academy school online, how I can continue to mold this global community for a good force for humanity, but I'm going to explore other ways in which those that follow me here and then will need to follow me to the K.im platform, because I will eventually completely migrate off of YouTube, because YouTube is just run by a bunch of parasites as well that constantly shadow ban me, constantly demonetize me. So why should I support their platform? So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to go through rules number 7 through 11 at this current time. So rule number 7, lean on people that have always been among your close circle of friends, and be cautious of random people that offer you their help during these times, as most people that come out of the blue to offer help that you don't know are wolves in sheep's clothing. Now, I've actually had people that have claimed to be ex-CIA employees email me. I don't know how they got my personal email. I'm talking emails that aren't even listed or published anywhere online, and write that they wanted to, quote unquote, help me get my message out because they really admired what I was doing fighting for justice. And coming from an ex-employee at the CIA, I mean, that's the last person I would expect to send a message like that. So the only thing I could vet was that the server where they're sending, of course, if they're really ex-CIA, they could be spoofing the server address, the web address. So from what I could check on my own, the email address seemed legit. I actually could go online, search their name, and their name came up as being actually an ex-CIA employee, but I couldn't actually vet that person, that contacted me was who he said he was. But even if I could, there'd be no reason for me to believe a random person contacting me out of the blue saying they want to help my cause, especially from an agency that's consistently worked to fight against sound money advocates such as myself. So I did not take that communication any further. So that is just a warning. Beware of people that come out of the blue. I'm always wary and cautious. But at the same point, that doesn't mean that every stranger you come across that offers you help can't be trusted. So in order to separate the wheat from the chaff, I advise cultivating your higher consciousness to the point where your instinct will inform you of whether a person can be trusted or not. So one thing that I really learned from my original teacher, martial arts, he would say, always trust your gut. because your gut, he said, is going to be right 99% of the time. So it's almost like if you meet someone that's super kind to you, but you walk away with just a bad vibe about that person. You think to yourself, why didn't I trust that person? Why, like, he was so nice or she was so nice, but why do I have this immediate distrust of that person? Trust your gut. Your gut is picking up something that is bad about that person that is going to be right multiple times. And I don't want to go into these instances, but even trusting my gut has actually saved my life. And I'm not like speaking metaphorically, literally saved my life at times by trusting my gut. And in those times, I actually thought of my martial arts teacher in those circumstances. Should I trust my gut, distrust my gut? Oh, my teacher told me, you have a very strong sensation in your gut, trust it. And trusting my gut in past instances literally has saved my life. So during my lifetime, I've encountered strangers that I've offered their help that were sincere, very sincere, without any sinister ulterior motives. And just trusting my gut led to the right decision. So consequently, you also don't want to miss the assistance offered by genuine people that offer help in times of significant need. So cultivating your higher consciousness can be achieved simply by associating yourself with people with very high integrity and moral compasses, because that will sharpen and hone your, your mental acuity. And for me, it was just training with other martial artists, because I trained with martial artists who live by the true warrior code, and that was enough to sharpen my mental acuity. Okay, let's move on to rule number 8. Learn and practice the art of discipline. So in the beginning of this long journey that of my international travel ban that has prevented me from returning home, the parasitic ruling class issued public statements through the media that they were lifting their international travel lockdowns, which is essentially martial law, because we, as citizens of the world, we don't have freedom to travel where we would need to go, and just to survive where we need to go. So they had issued multiple statements. We're going to lift it in 15 days. We're going to lift it in 30 days, only to rescind their promises time and time and time again. So trusting the parasitic class to actually keep good to their promises will drive all of us insane. And in the beginning, it was really easy to rely on self-motivation during, say, the first 60 days of not being able to return home, to create a source of income for myself, as my motivation was born out of sheer necessity, because I had no access to any money, no access to any income, because I was barred from working. But that can be very strong motivation, but motivation at some point is going to run dry. So at this point, you must have already had a routine of discipline in place to keep you going. So, as discipline is doing things that you don't feel like doing. This is why on my Instagram account, although I've gone radio silent recently, I've often posted very short videos on there about running sprints in unbearable heat, or going to explore neighborhoods just to find places to exercise during these quarantines, even when I'm tired and exhausted, and forcing myself to exercise. And a lot of people didn't really understand about these posts, because they're like, why are you posting these short videos about exercising when your whole tag is skwealthacademy? I thought you're about talking about things, giving us the means to live a better life, and talking about education and critical thinking. And while all that is true, if you don't have discipline, you can throw all that stuff out the window. It doesn't matter. So what people didn't get is that none of those exercise videos were about fitness. They were basically about keeping discipline, not breaking a routine, and to ensure that we maintain discipline in our lives. Because if we can't maintain discipline regarding a simple exercise routine, which of course is necessary if you want to feel good about yourself and be able to have good health later in life, you need to exercise daily. And if we can't do that, then we're going to definitely 100% fail to maintain discipline about bigger goals in our lives. So discipline, not motivation, is what will see all of us through once motivation runs out. Okay, so rule number 9, plan for the worst and expect the worst. Now, I know a lot of people say, hey, that is a very pessimistic view, but it's really more a view of reality, because you always have to adjust your perspectives based upon the reality of today's situation. So whereas in the past the mantra was plan for the worst, expect for the best, that is out the window. We can't abide by that mantra anymore. It does not apply today with the type of people that rule the state, politics, banking, and the corporate world today at the upper echelons, and are the decision makers at the upper echelons of these various global arenas that I just discussed. So when dealing with this class of people, we have to expect the worst. So expecting the best makes zero sense. All we've seen from them in the past, and since the start of the year, is the worst. So why would expecting the best make any sense in planning our lives and future? And that's not to say to be, become a negative Nancy or whatever that moniker is, and to be perpetually pessimistic. No, it's just be realistic. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be always positive in your approach, because you're going to have so many doors slammed in your face. You're going to have multiple people tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that. There's no way you can do that. That's crazy. How can you start a school and you actually think people are going to sign up for your school? So there are always going to be people trying to drag you down. So in order to just even be successful as an entrepreneur, you have to be positive. But at the same time, you got to rein in that positivity and also be a realist. So I would say I'm a positive realist, if that makes any sense. And also, if you plan for the worst and expect the worst, this is a mentality that's much easier on your psyche. Because as I said in the beginning, I was fooled by the parasites when I got hopeful. Say, I'm finally gonna be able to leave after 30 days. 30 days became 60 days, became 90 days, became 120 days. Now is on day 149 right now. So again, if I instead expect the worst, then everything becomes easier. So this is why only very, very foolish people that understand nothing about the modus operandus of the parasites support economic lockdowns, as they have zero understanding that these temporary removals of freedom will become permanent. And that's also why I use those metaphors that we're engaged in war now, because residents of Melbourne, if you think that these incidences of police in your country choking people on the street, you can go watch the videos on YouTube. There are videos of police choking young women, grabbing them by the throat, throwing them to the ground just for not wearing a mask. And even though that woman had a medical excuse from her doctor not to wear a mask, they don't care. In Australia, police can come in your home with no warrant, under the auspices of this COVID-19 emergency. So if you think that these temporary removals of freedom are just temporary, as they say, and they won't become permanent, then God help you. God help your naivete, because that's what they told us after 9/11, that all these temporary surveillance methods are necessary to make sure another 9/11 doesn't happen. What happened with all those surveillance methods in America? They all became permanent. Rule number 10, do whatever is necessary to secure your freedoms if you don't want to be a serf for the rest of your life. And if you have children, if you don't want your children to also be serfs for the rest of their lives. Now, explore and choose alternative education pathways, such as online education, homeschooling platforms that offer true education and life skills versus institutional skills that offer none of this. Now, my online SK Wealth Academy school would be a great place to start. I know that's a very selfish plug, but since everything has been thrown out of motion and plans because of this lockdown, I'm going to engage in self-promotional plugs from time to time. And I'll put the links in the show notes where you can actually go download the curriculum. The updated curriculum is on my computer in my home country, so I can't. So the curriculum I'm going to put the link to is going to be a little bit different than the final curriculum. And when I finally gain my freedom, then I'll upload the link to the final curriculum. And you can explore and also choose alternative career pathways that are immune from the parasitic ruling class shutting it down. As all of you know that watched my lengthy podcast about the parallels of the messages in Mr. Robot Season 4 to our reality today. You all know that I said in life, our view of reality is like our view of the electromagnetic spectrum. Only 0.13% of it is visible to us, and 99.87% of it is not visible to us without the use of auxiliary technology like infrared goggles or night vision goggles, and we can see a wider spectrum of the electromagnetic spectrum. And that's kind of like life. We limit ourselves to 0.13% of the entire spectrum of choices in so many areas, not only education, but career, how we choose to live our lives. So there's a wealth of career choices in the spectrum of possible careers that 99.9% of us never consider, because either our parents, if Asian immigrants, like I relayed in the my rant about the marshmallow society that's developed today, had determined for us as children of immigrant parents that our only acceptable careers would be doctor, engineer, or lawyer. Or because if that's not the case, even if you're an immigrant of a non-Asian parent, if they did not decide what your career had to be, then just going through the academic system, we let our teachers brainwash us into thinking that our career path should be ruled by money and money alone. Because what is everything from up to high school? What is everything geared towards? Getting into the best college. Why? Getting into the best college to get the best grades so we can get the best jobs that pay the most money. The end goal is always our career paths need to be ruled by money alone, which shuttles many young adults into the pursuits of careers for which they have very low aptitude. They're just chasing it because they go to their career employment center, these are the top careers in my nation that pay the most money. That's what I'm going to go for, whether I actually enjoy it or have any aptitude about it. So in the future, I believe nobody will care about hiring financial advisors that typically have the integrity of used car salesmen after, say, 2021, after at the point the global financial meltdown manifests. So that if that happens in Q4 this year, nobody's going to care about hiring financial advisors. And certain services will be needed, like hunting classes, martial arts classes, the provision of food. So if you want to be a successful life coach, I believe the days is just preaching inspiration, aspiration, motivation, positive thinking, gaining status as a respected guru are over. It's done. In the past, it was possible to preach such tomfoolery and to make a grip of paper. But in the future, that will not be possible. Everyone will now have to provide high value skills as a life coach, like how to grow food, how to hunt food, how to identify edible plants from poisonous plants, how to track animals, how to grow hydroponic plants, and so on. So people that learn and teach these skills will always have an accessible, available base of customers in the future. And that is becoming our reality. So I've already come to terms in order to secure freedoms that are really important to me. I will likely have to uproot my entire life in certain ways. And I'm already prepared to do this given its importance to me. And for those of you living in the most draconian societies right now, like in Victoria in Australia, that is your reality too, because I see what's going on in your country. And if you don't think that that is preparation for those kind of permanent conditions, if you want freedom, you might have to leave your country. Rule number 11, maintain integrity and honor under all circumstances. Now, during this lockdown, many people have resorted to illegal and or dishonorable methods to make money, rationalizing that such times call for such behaviors and that ripping off people to feed my family is okay. For example, on YouTube, there are literally dozens of people that are selling these so-called master classes on how to make loads of money by starting a drop shipping business. You know what? These drop shipping businesses that make all that money, because I don't even need to watch like these stupid ads that always pop up because they say, hey, I sold like $3 million or $10 million worth of goods, buying this product in Asia for $1 and reselling them for $20. What they're doing is they're ripping off people. They're purchasing counterfeit, either straight up counterfeit goods and then selling them as the real goods, or they're purchasing goods of extremely low quality, misrepresenting the quality that could even be dangerous products, and such as like AirPods that are fake, and marking them up, like I said, 19,000% or something, and then reselling them and resorting even to selling fraudulent, non-existent services, as did the Fire Music Festival organizers. That elite music festival that was supposed to take place on some Bahamian island that no music act showed up to, and they saw packages worth 5,000, 10,000, even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and basically defrauded everyone of their money. So real and huge monetary profits can be made through such endeavors, although I do believe the organizer of that Fire Music Festival got sentenced to 6 years in prison. But as far as the drop shipping businesses, there are legal loopholes that allow you to basically rip off people legally. So those people aren't going to jail, although they're making their profits by the most dishonorable methodology possible. Because what they're doing is they're hiring like social media influencers like Kourtney Kardashian or Bella Hadid that have, I don't know how many followers they have on, say, Instagram, but I imagine it's like, 50 million, 60 million, 100 million people, and then they hire these influencers, pay them exorbitant amount of money to promote fake products and services, but the investment in doing that in the social media influencer is returned to them 10 times over, so they become essentially rich off of this entire fraudulent scheme. And I would say don't give in to temptations to do this, no matter how hard up you may be for money. Because in urban neighborhoods, there's a saying, your word is bond. Like my word is bond. But even more important than your word is your soul. You only have one soul. Once you sell it, you'll never get it back. Now, as people that I trained with in martial arts that also train spec ops guys, spec ops just is the short term for special operations for all of you that may not know, they always preach to me, hey, doing things the right way is almost never going to be the easy way. They say doing things the right way is always going to be the more difficult way, and sometimes the most difficult way. But doing things the right way, and they would say that would include in training, that always give it your all. Don't, like I would always look to my left, look to my right, sometimes see my fellow students, like if we were told to basically hold a position, because it's just an isometric exercise, and people's legs will start shaking because it's really hard to hold certain positions for very long periods of time. If our sensei was walking around, their back was turned, I'd see people like momentarily rest and then go back into that position. I would never do that. I would never cheat, because you're just cheating yourself. So again, always going to be easy ways to make money. I would say, again, if my life depended upon it and I had to make $1 million in a year, 100% guaranteed I could do it every single year. But it would involve doing the shadiest, crappiest, most low-life things in the world to do it. And that's why I would never do it. So, especially for me, since I'm based in Asia, where low quality products can be easily sourced, repackaged as high quality products for enormous profit margins to naive buyers. When I spent time in China, there's fentanyl being sold all over the place in black market. You could buy that stuff for $10,000, redistribute it for $250,000. You can make money if you have no morals. But to make money through much more difficult means that I've already discussed above, that provide high value to your customers, provide benefit to society, provide benefit to the global community, take up endeavors that are far more difficult than just ripping people off, that add value instead of subtracting value from the lives of your customers. Do things whereby you can hold your head up high about the endeavors you choose to undertake. Here's one simple rule that if you're doing that, you can ask yourself, am I doing anything wrong? If you have children, in the endeavors you're engaged in right now, whether it's a side hustle or whether it's your primary job, you apply to both. If you would never sell the services that you're hawking out there or the products to your own children or to your own family, then this is a sure sign you should not be engaged in such a career, that you are doing something amoral. So that is about it. Now, please make sure that you subscribe and click the notification bell below. Why? Because if you want to receive notification of the date and time of a live streaming Q&A session with me regarding this very topic, you have to subscribe to my SK Wealth Academy podcast channel here. It's only to be notified of certain events like this, because It'd be great to just chat with some of you live. As I've already said, and I know a group of you are really honorable people, a very strong character. And it would be good to chat with you in these live streams if YouTube allows me to run live streams. Because you can't even run live streams unless you like monetize your channel. So I don't know if they're allowing me to do that. So I'm still waiting to see. So that about wraps up the part 2 of my podcast number 128. Thanks so much for watching to the end. And also, probably will run a live stream about the topics I discussed in the civil wars that are going on all around the world, the state against the people, because I think that's a very interesting topic to explore as well, if possible, again. So thanks so much for watching. Always remain intensely curious, and until next time, I send you good vibes and blessings.